Welcome back, everyone, to Behind the Barn. Sorry I missed last week and was fighting allergies, and just the cedar and the Bradford pears have been doing their spring thing. And so I've been just extremely congested and just not feeling the greatest. So I kind of took the week off and used a couple of videos that I had saved up. That way I was still posting weekly. But nevertheless, I'm not quite cleared up, but I'm a lot better than I was a week ago. So, without any further ado, I guess we'll get into today's video. Topic for today is I guess people have noticed that commodities have been skyrocketing um, ever since this whole U.S., Israel, Iran thing. And not trying to get into the politics side of it and what side of the fence I'm really leaning on. It's all I know is that it's affecting costs. And right now in the farming world, people are starting to gear up to plant corn and a couple other year. Oats are being planted right now. Corn's starting to get planted. It's right on the verge. Actually, planted our sweet corn today. Um, well, this being Sunday night that this is being filmed, post here in the morning on Monday, um, which is kind of the reason why this jar right here is empty. This is a jar I had my sweet corn seed in, which was right at 1,000 seeds. So ended up planting 11 rows of that, which you'll see Thursday when that video drops. So looking forward to that one. It's super excited about being able to finally get our spring crops in the ground, and got some weather coming in and Tuesday. So I'll come back to that. But also sitting here on the desk is some seed, and this is some really special seed I got from a neighbor, a very kind neighbor of mine, that I had kind of talked about a little bit, doing this historical stuff and everything. And this, if you can't tell what this is sorghum seed. Sorghum is another part of the grain family that is not really harvested for the grain itself. This is very similar to like sugar cane. It's ran through a dual roller press and it squeezes out the juice, and that juice is then put into a pan that is slow cooked down to a syrup. So a lot of your, not maple syrup, this is sorghum syrup. Same principle as the maple syrup, except for this is not coming from maple trees, it's coming from sorghum. Um, Real popular in the East Coast, in the South, Appalachia, basically the Appalachians and the in the South is very, what used to be very popular and still is in some areas. So this is really cool. I got a lead on a sorghum press. Not sure if I'm going to be able to get that bought, but I'm pretty sure I can get it borrowed. So really excited about this. This is going to be really cool. Something I've really been doing a deep dive and trying to learn the best I can about it. Like I said, I planted sweet corn today, and off to the side here, I have these seed starting trays. I was able to pick up my local Atwoods, and I think they're 272 cell trays. And hopefully, here in the next couple of weeks, we'll be starting our okra and watermelons inside those trays, just because I want to be able to make sure I got the highest germination rate that I can get. The corn being well over 1,000 seeds, my germination rate is probably going to be, I'm going to hope for 80%. I'm pretty sure it's going to be higher than that, but if I get an 80% germination rate, my harvest is still going to be fairly decent. Only having 50 seeds of the okra that I'm going to plant and 30 seeds of the watermelons, the higher the germination rate that I can get, the better. So that'll be coming here in the next few weeks. 2 weeks from today, I'll be planting the Jimmy Red corn, which you saw a couple episodes ago. Had a jar that had this really deep red colored kernel. So that'll be getting planted here in 2 weeks. And then in another 2 weeks, I'll be planting my third variety. And then 2 weeks after that, everything that I have left over is going to be mixed together and then planted together to create a potential hybrid. So excited to experiment. I'll touch more on that when it comes to that time. But anyways, back to the well, like I said, we have weather coming in Tuesday. Tuesday, not only is it going to be rain, which is great for the corn we just planted, but there is a severe chance. The severe, according to the last map that I just saw here, just right before I started recording, it covers all the way from Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, clear up into Illinois. And they're talking pretty nasty weather, which is kind of crazy. Our storm season, our spring tornado season, if for those who are in this region and understand it, has started early. I mean, everything started early. Usually some of the trees aren't budding until usually the end of March, not the beginning of March, late February. Actually, some of the Bradford pears and a couple of the firebush that's out at mom and dad's started budding in late February, which that usually doesn't happen until at earliest mid-March. And over the weekend, there was a couple of tornadoes that touched down here in Oklahoma. My heart goes out to those people who are affected by that. Out west in Oklahoma, there was a mother and daughter that was tragically killed. And that just sickens me knowing that there's a family that a mother and daughter's not coming home. And that's, Oklahoma, I mean, it's part of it. It's part of living in Oklahoma. You're going to deal with severe weather. And these kind of things are tragically happening. Our weather coverage, our media, our meteorologists through our weather stations and everything, and these weather apps and other media outlets do such an amazing job here in Oklahoma, covering this particular season. When it comes to winter weather, not so much, but this is their bread and butter. This is what they're doing best at, and my hat's off to those guys who do this day in day out with the weather. I never really paid much attention to it. Like I'd get the notifications on my phone. That's severe weather in the next 24 hours in your location. Never really paid that much attention to it until it really started getting bad. Until I started farming full time. Well, not really quite full time, but doing what I'm doing now. To where now I actually have to pay attention to the weather. When's it going to rain? So I know when to get the fields prepped or when to plant. I'm having to pay attention to stuff that I never really did before. And so that's kind of a really interesting thing that I'm having to do. So, but yeah, there was actually some tornadoes. Just I think the closest one was about 15 miles from the farm, so it got kind of close, but still, that's 15 miles away. It's about a 20-minute drive um, to get to where the tornado was. It fortunately, to my knowledge, there hasn't been one relatively close to the farm ever before. You know, and we've been very fortunate. We've had some pretty nasty weather in the years past, but fortunately, I mean, because I've seen what some of this weather can do to some farms. So Western Oklahoma, I've seen on the news a couple of farms got completely destroyed. So my hat's off to them, and my prayers are heading that way towards them, and hopefully that some positive things can come from this. As much as it might not seem like it is. So that's kind of about what's been weighing on my chest on that. So On a positive note, we dropped some feelers out for our corn production. Now, we're not going to be going full full scale probably for 2 years until we really start being able to produce and sell corn and seed and also stuff like that. But that is a goal. So maybe here in a couple of years you'll actually be able to buy seed from us. Um, Not quite 100% on that yet. It's in the thought process, but we're definitely thinking about it. Um, Trying to think of anything else. But yeah, so if you do, back to the weather deal, if you do happen to live from the Texas to Illinois region, yeah, pay attention Tuesday. Tuesday, I think evening into the night, it's when it's supposed to happen. The Fairview tornado that happened here a few days ago, it happened at night, and I mean tornadoes are just terrifying in the daytime, much less when it's pitch black outside and you can't see it, you can't hear it, you can't until it's on top of you and it's too late to do anything about. So, um, but yeah, I mean, maybe this is a maybe we can get all of our severe weather over with before it comes time to harvest wheat. So maybe these wheat farmers will get a pretty good crop. I know hail in late season is devastating to wheat. So, but I don't think it's going to be that great because, if it's early March and we're already having weather that's doing the damage that it's doing, producing large tornadoes, it's kind of makes me nervous about what our prime storm season is going to do, which usually here in Oklahoma takes place from middle of April into that first week of June. And being the first and second week of May is usually our prime tornado weather. And that's usually when we have the big outbreaks, the monster tornadoes. I mean, May, and if you're from Oklahoma or the region in this area, most of the F5 tornadoes have taken place in that first and second week of May. May 3rd, 99 in Moore, Oklahoma. Devastating. Joplin, I believe, was in that second week of May. 2013, I believe, was another the second F5 that hit Moore, Oklahoma, which is all hour and a half south and west of us. So it's still a ways away, but still it's close enough that it's affecting people that we do potentially could know. And being an Oklahoman, it really it's kind of a sense of family we're not related to. So, and I'm sure there's other people that kind of can relate to that. You're like say if you have a good work environment, those are people that are family that you're not related to. So yeah, it definitely gonna be paying attention to the weather more. It's you know, and it's something I've taken for granted, and maybe it might be me kind of freaking out, and I'm not trying to really freak out about it or get paranoid or get scared. It's just something that I'd much rather be over prepared for than under prepared for. So I've always liked to use the phrase, it's better to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. Because, it's kind of convenient when you're prepared for something, it's not as chaotic whenever it does happen. So whether that be just being prepared for any situation. So yeah, without trying to drag on too long, no questions were submitted in the last 2 weeks, so we won't be doing any question answering. I got a couple of ideas for Next week's Behind the Barn, so maybe we might be doing something a little bit different, maybe even not here in this studio. So, so if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'd ask you to please go ahead and do so. Help grow the channel. Um, I'm not big enough to get paid by YouTube or the ad revenue or any of that stuff. Actually, I'm not even getting any money from the farm yet. I'm still having to work a full time, 40-hour job uh, to pay for all this. This is all purely, as of right now, just a hobby and for fun and for my own personal enjoyment, and also to maybe share my knowledge with somebody who also is interested in just kind of keep an older tradition and lifestyle alive. That's something that me personally feels like that needs to be carried on to the next generation. Um, and it's history that I think doesn't need to be forgotten about, that shouldn't be forgotten about. So, as always, like to thank y'all for watching, and we'll see y'all Thursday.